Hello family, Tdka, Kilimanjaro, out at my favorite place, a few miles away from a place called Dismal Swamp in North Carolina. And I'm gonna spend a few seconds, minutes, and give you a summary of what we just completed these last few months. Two major books, one of them being Kemet, Indigenous African Populations. This is a color picture book of the African foundation of what you call Egypt civilization, but Kemet civilization. And then we're gonna go over our vast improvement, 217 pages added to African time. So we've modernized that, improved it, brought it up to the level of 2020 production. Then I'll spend a few minutes talking about what we have next coming up by February. But these are foundational books, especially the color book, never been done before, because whites are not and Arabs are not going to put black people or brown people and show them to be the dominant population in ancient Kemet, or what they're calling Egypt. They're not going to do it. And most blacks are not going to take 33 years to collect 25,000 pictures and compare them and organize them in such a way that you can produce a book. They're not going to do it. They're not going to have the preparation or the determination to get that done. So it's never been done. We want our next generation of children that are coming up to have that fire, that determination to get these things done. So we're setting that example. We finished 20 books in 4.5 years. 5 of them are over 1,000 pages each. And this is small print. And we've done it without much help at all. The point of the matter is we had a team. We kept journals over a 33-year period. And a journaling system, a scientific journaling system, is the basis for these books. We couldn't do them one book at a time. We probably would have 3 or 4 done at best if we were doing 1,000-page books and doing them one at a time. No, we kept journals over a 33-year period, pull aside the time at our break over the summer, or doing after work, which is the 4 or 5 hours we get to put in some work and then go to the gym. So that has been our work process, and I'm going to spend a few minutes showing you the results of that, so that basically the young people can get an understanding of how this is done. So I'm going to sit down for a second. The first thing you've got to have in place is a way to keep your material in journals. I'm an avid journal keeper, and so it's important to be able to journalize what you read. You can't just go around reading books for credit, running around talking about what you read or what you saw. Reading is not remembered unless it's reinforced through journal taking or some means of reinforcing and transitioning short-term memory to long-term memory. And so it's not about credit. It's about producing a summary of the book that you've read, the inferences that are drawn from it that will allow you to be able to build on the information you got from hundreds of books. You see, you don't just have one and go running around, as an expert on anything. You may have to read hundreds of books in a certain area in order to get proficient in that area enough to write on it. And this is what we've done. We've read thousands of books and summed them up in journals. I've shown you pictures of these in the past, these journals that allow you to extract from the inferences and build an argument around a process that we put together. So the book that we're talking about today, the 2 books we're talking about today, is the new one, Kemet, Indigenous African Population. It's a color book, color picture book, and it's got information in it that sums up the picture at the bottom of it. This is for our children. I got so sick of the nonsense I've seen online, people so sloppily going about talking about Kemet, have not done their work, have not put in the time, have not organized their ideals in such a way that they can help these young people to move forward. Instead of making up stuff and running around debating and arguing, they should be cataloging and classifying this information and putting it in a format that will be useful to African people. This was an African civilization in all of its major years. It's only when the invasions occurred from the whites and the Arabs and people like them, the Hyksos, Hittites, Persians, and Greeks, that they destroyed this civilization and then began the whitewash of it, which is in place right now. So when you go to these museums, they're only showing you what they want you to see. They're showing you the ones that look whitest or look like them, the ones in charge now, the Arabs, to make you think that they're the ones who built it. They're invaders, just like the Europeans are invaders in the Western Hemisphere. They destroyed the Aztec Empire, which is now Mexico. They destroyed the Inca Empire, which is now Peru. They tore it down. They're in charge of it, just like the Arabs are in charge of what they call Egypt now. That was Kemet. They tore that up. They ripped it apart. Now they're repainting the pictures to make them look like them. Red-eyeing the pictures in books to make you think these people were red, that their skin color was red. They're reproducing these plastic pictures of models of people, like Tutankhamun, making them white. And some of you running around giving our children that garbage. Nefertiti, you were walking around with that garbage that they made up, material that they painted years ago and presented as the population that was in Kemet, a population of beauty being white. And so we've got to get ourselves organized to carefully study things. And so really I'm speaking to the children. You're not going to be able to change older people with bad habits and ego problems and running around always trying to, what's that word, crabs in the barrel syndrome, always trying to drag someone down. You're not going to be able to change them. Let them go to their grave with the direction that they're going. Work on the young people who are not like that. Our most avid supporters have been young people, 35 and below. We've spoken on this before. And they're our most avid supporters because they're not trying to compete. They see the work that we're doing. We're not in any competition with anyone. We put in our time carefully planning everything. You know, we have a planning system that allows us to do 20 books in 4.5 years. It's a system that our young people are going to get when we put it in a book next year to show them how these things are done. But what I'll do right now is take a few seconds to explain to you the process that allowed me and our team to get in a place where we got these pictures in the first place. This was a process which started for me in high school. When I was in our little bitty library at FAMU High School, I saw a couple of books with what they call Egypt pictures in them. And most of them were stick drawings. They were beginning to draw pictures of the people instead of showing them. So I looked at the Greek books and they didn't do it like that. And so I always wondered, as I was in high school, why they were drawing pictures instead of showing you the real picture of the people. And so later on, even our high school, FAMU High, was on the campus of Florida A&M University, so I was able to use the university library. And I began to see the pictures in the books. They were all red-eyed. And the reason I knew that they were red-eyed was because I was in a photography class in high school, and I learned how you can overexpose pictures and red-eye them and make them look like the population is red. And so these whites were doing this in these books and presenting these books around the world. And if you copy or recopy a red-eyed picture, it's going to be that way in the next book and the next book. And so if you get that picture 10 times, it's going to be 10 times more red-eyed than it was from the very beginning. And this is what I learned in high school. By the time I got to Florida State, I was able to then venture into their stacks in the libraries and see what they had about ancient Egypt. This is on my time off. I mean, I would just spend time in the stacks studying this. I didn't know how to organize myself. I didn't know what I was going to do with the information. I just knew it was wrong. And so at some point, I put myself in a position to study this carefully. And this is when I got to Howard in grad school. And in the 80s, up into the late 80s, I was in a PhD program, and I got a chance to get a job in the library working stacking books.